Now, broadcasting from deep within your stepmom's basement, it's the Echoplex Podcast.
Welcome to Downballot. We do the show live most Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Bit of a programming note. We won't be doing this show next Tuesday. So, I don't know. Maybe I can go do something. Who fucking knows? You can support this project at patreon.com/Echoplex or even better at eplex.store. Sign up for the monthly membership. Works just like Patreon, except you also get discounts on the merch. And by the way, check out the merch. I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
What's up, everybody? And this is the Councilman. You can find me on the first base line keeping score. You can also find me on X, if it's still there, at THE_Councilman. Sorry for the genderization there, but most definitely man in this front here, unfortunately. Anyway, happy to join you as always, producer Dave. Excited to get into the docket. There was so much lovely derp happening this week, as always. But it'll be sad to take a week off. We usually have a great show coming back from that, so be sure to tune in, little droogies, 2 weeks from now for the return of Down Ballot.
What do we have for leading off this week?
Well, a story you found, actually, I believe. We love ourselves a good Tesla autopilot story, especially when they crash into police cruisers. So
that's the only cool thing a Tesla ever did on autopilot.
And this would have made it into another thing at the end of the show tonight, but another vehicle versus structure beat them to the punch. So we'll drop this under leading off, and we'll see what happened in this incident here.
Oh, and this is from a local news website, so anything could happen when I hit play.
Fox too as well. Oh, even like no audio? Oh, this is just a security cam footage?
Yeah, it appears to be security cam footage. Ooh.
Oh, dear. Oh, my. Well.
That doesn't look great.
No, not at all. Not at all.
They're going to show it again?
I guess. So there's no audio here at all?
Doesn't appear so. Otherwise, something's horribly broken here, but I don't think that's the case because I tested everything before the show. So,
and I actually checked one of our local news clips, and lo and behold, it was not the story that was headlined on the page. Oh my goodness! Well, I don't know. Who do you think won this one? I didn't. Oh, there we go. There's the shot of the Tesla. Who do you think won that confrontation there?
Just like winners and losers, there are no winners.
Probably true. I mean, although you would expect the Tesla to take more damage, right? Going up against a police cruiser that are typically, you would imagine, reinforced in some way. But who knows? Maybe cruisers are going all lean so they can be fast.
Yeah, who knows? I was hoping for like a news story. I was like, I try not to watch anything before any of these shows because I want to, get the information fresh or whatever. But I was hoping for a news story. But it seems like the Fullerton Fox affiliate or whoever just kind of phoned it in.
Yeah, it looks like they just dropped the police footage to you. That was pretty much what they had there. That was the credit, was Fullerton Police Department. So, local to them, if not local to us. Typically, we could extrapolate what the local news said. Percy, do you want to play the anchors on local news in Fullerton tonight? More than likely, what they said was, "Oh my goodness, another." Driverless car ran into another vehicle. We need to really examine what we're doing with driverless cars. Not like we need to think about what we're doing with, driver assisted cars and the humans that drive them. So anyway, that's more than likely what they're saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tesla, Elon Musk, blah blah blah.
Nobody to root for.
No, definitely not.
But hopefully nobody was seriously injured.
It doesn't appear so, thankfully, and we generally, obviously, as you know, don't like to get into vehicle versus vehicle or vehicle versus structure stories if there was some sort of injury involved. Hopefully everyone's okay. It looks like it. You'd think there would be more of a narrative if someone was hurt, or some sort of anchor. Anyway,
first story coming in lukewarm.
We'll just have to, we'll have to pick it up from here. It's all uphill, I'm sure, from here.
Up next is a story about California Forever. Apparently, it's going to be on the ballot.
Yep. Well, not our ballot, but the ballot. Yeah.
Well, the ballot it's location neutral.
Right. The general, like the ballot, the capital B. So that looks like they've qualified enough signatures to get their initiative on the ballot. Surprise, surprise. Billionaires have enough money to gather signatures for a ballot initiative. And really I don't know that they have to do this. I'm not even sure what the stipulations of the ballot measure are, what they're allowing them to do. If people say yes, if they say no, what they're not allowed to do, because a lot of this just comes down to zoning and local land use ordinances. And as far as I know, that stuff isn't really debatable at the ballot box or adjudicated at the ballot box, but maybe in this case it has to be, or maybe this is just some sort of like good faith thing. Well, they'll get it passed. They'll get the support of the people to do their thing, and they'll just go do whatever they want to do anyway. Kind of like with the Niners and their stadium in Santa Clara and so many other, billionaire boondoggles. But
let's see how the local news covers this.
Yeah, why not?
Beginning tonight with a step forward in that controversial plan to build a brand new city on farmland in Solano County. The county registrar of voters announced late today that supporters gathered enough valid signatures to qualify that issue to let voters decide in the November election. But as NBC Bay Area's Jordi Hernandez explains, the project known as California Forever still has nearly forever before becoming a reality.
The California Forever initiative may have passed a huge hurdle, but it's not heading to the ballot quite yet. The county registrar of voters will now send the results of its random sample to the county board of supervisors, which is expected to order an impact report before placing it on the ballot, where many say it faces an uphill battle.
I once read that sticking your hands in the ground is like shaking hands with your ancestors.
76-year-old Kathy Threlfall says her connection with her family's 243 acres is deep.
My great-grandmother and great-grandfather.
Her great-grandparents were once sharecroppers on the land, and it's felt like home all her life.
It's the story of my life. You turn off the highway and you relax. You have this feeling of letting go of lot of hustle and bustle.
That's why Threlfall has refused to sell her property to California Forever.
Fuck yeah, Granny.
Investors who hope to build a brand new city in Threlfall's rural Solano County neighborhood.
I'm pretty skeptical.
I think it's really easy to say no.
Especially to you.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, you're not making it easy to say yes.
You're very easy to say no to. 9.
Terrifying motherfucker.
9.
The reality is that we've spent the last 20 years saying no to everything in Solano County and in California. And it's
what's this wee shit?
Being secret about what they were doing.
While the opposition is vocal, California Forever CEO Jan Schermak says he's confident his plan will succeed. He says prospective employers have signed letters of intent to build there, and says they'll soon be unveiling plans addressing concerns about water and transportation.
The number of people who are a yes on this is going up every single day that we see in the numbers. And you see that in the endorsements for the initiative as well.
It's not a wasteland. This ground is getting ready for the next big thing.
Threlfall says East Solano County has been producing wheat, barley, rye, and meat for generations and hopes that will continue. She's urging voters to consider the proposal with a critical eye.
It's a campaign. What do we think about campaigns? We take it with a grain of salt. We hope that the best man wins.
In Solano County, Jordi Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
I can't see people voting for this thing.
End of the day, no, not November, not this year. I could see like an off year election in March or like in June, sure, but not a November presidential election. It doesn't seem like the electorate is going to support something like this, and especially if that young lady who is still a landowner and probably pretty conservative, I imagine, and not more worried about her quality of life than necessarily like the environment and everything else, then I can't see it being successful. That said, there's nothing that can't beat a bunch of money being thrown into problem a lot of times in politics. And if you can spend as much money as these guys can and spend enough per voter, it's possible. But it's going to be an uphill battle for them. Then, like I said, though, I don't know that they need the voters' permission. It's just like it would be nice, and it will certainly help things for them, I'm sure, however it's written. But I still think that they can try to do this on their own. But
I don't know that much about Solano County, but I'm thinking that it's gonna be a bloodbath. I just can't imagine.
I hope so.
I can't imagine somebody going, "Oh, you know what they need to do is plop down a city right over there."
Well, it shouldn't be discounted that this was the county that had like the highest COVID rates, the lowest masking rates, the lowest vaccination rates of the 9 major Bay Area counties throughout the pandemic. So they definitely have DIY libertarian streak there already, and they don't. In this particular case, they're our friends because they don't take kindly to this kind of insurgency, right? So yeah, I think we're going to see strange bedfellows coming together: libertarians, environmentalists, people like us, people who don't dislike Peter Thiel and all of his minions, and
It's funny because there's no evidence that Peter Thiel is involved in this, but everybody that I know that talks about it just says it stinks like Peter Thiel. Like,
right? It's Anderson, right? Mark Anderson,
Mark Andreessen, yeah,
Andreessen.
All these fucking ghouls.
Yeah, so he's the one confirmed. Like,
they're like kind of interchangeable,
right? Sachs should be in there too, I'm sure. But anyway, I hope you're right. I really do. I just know how easily voters can be swayed by glossy mailers or fancy ads or just smiling people showing up at their door.
They have a problem right there.
Not Jan.
They have a problem right there with the smiling people they're sending.
Right, not Jan. Hello, I'm your neighbor. I'm here to tell you about the new community we are building here. Come into this hall and chamber. We will talk to you more. Oh, sorry, we locked the door behind ourselves.
Yeah, they need they're so stupid. They need like kind of a don't you know kind of guy, you know?
Yeah, right. Like I don't. And this guy, and it wasn't like they've had chances. This was their guy for the rollout. And remember, I think we were saying like, oh man, this guy's got to go. This guy's got to go from day one, right? So they've had an opportunity to kick this guy to the curb. It's not as though he's the CEO, right? Like he's just the task master. He's the errand boy. They can put anyone in this role. He is not the one with the money. He's not the one calling the shots. So I don't understand why they haven't replaced this guy already. I think they even had a couple like, oh, hey, guys who were in a previous story, but they kept coming back to this dude. And I'm like, why is this guy the face of the organization? That's like mistake number one. So again, I do think and hope you will be right. You were right and you will be proven correct. Because just that fundamental of a mistake, you think is going to, would signal other problems within their camp. So I don't know that they're going to be able to run a successful political campaign.
But you were saying earlier about like the truthers and the fucking weirdo libertarian types. I think messaging to them on this specifically is going to be really good. Like get like, that guy Klaus Schwab that they all hate from the World Economic Forum. Just get like side by sides of this guy and Klaus Schwab. Like, come on, man.
Right. Look, just beware, right? Just beware.
You will eat the bugs.
Right.
Cricket flour.
And the thing is, most people these days are getting their news and their political, at least their political information and their electoral information from what they're seeing on like the news and local news. That's why we run a lot of this stuff, because this is really where a lot of people still get their information. And so all they're gonna see is this Jan guy, right? And that's not going to appeal to them very much, right? That's going to be their impression of this campaign, even if whatever Jane Q citizen shows up at their door with a flyer to talk about it. They're still going to think about Jan because he's the one they saw on the news.
Like how stupid are they that they're not astroturfing this? Like I don't understand, how dumb do you have to be to have that much money and not fucking astroturf this?
It's I think the only thing you could chalk it up to is ego and just we fucking know we're billionaires and we fucking built our empires and we know what we're doing. We know how to win, right? We know how to win things. But they've always had to win things in a vacuum of VCs and tech bros and their own little bubble. And they've never had to go out and actually win the hearts and minds of, I don't know, people like the people that, clean their fucking toilets and serve their food at these big Googleplexes, right? They've never had to actually relate to those people. So of course they don't know how to do it, right? So maybe it's not surprising at all that this would just go completely haywire.
I mean, do they just not have like a consultancy? I don't know. Like, do they not have somebody?
They probably have fucking billions of consultants. That's more than likely what happened. Like I can give you some inside intel. So the Niners, going back to that story again with their stadium, when they ran that campaign, they had like at least 3 primary consultants. One of them being Steve Schmidt. You remember Steve Schmidt? It was like McCain's freaking campaign manager, right?
Yeah.
Big time. Like, so they had huge, but 3 different consultants of really high stature, right? Including one local consultant, or a couple of local consultants. And you get them all in a room together, and they're all, they've all got their ideas. They're all pushing their narrative, their agenda, their what they want to see, because they want to come out at the end of the day like, oh, we were the ones that orchestrated everything, right? And they want to get the next deal with the 49ers, whatever it might be. So you end up with this cacophony and this like echo chamber of ideas, right? And at the end of the day, something gets done, but it's like it's no one's really wanting to lay claim to it. No one's really taking ownership of it, and it kind of gets lost, right? So what I'm guessing here is that they have way too many consultants, right? They're probably paying billions of dollars out to consultants, and they're all telling them something different because they all want their own little stake, right? So they all have their own egos. And then even though all these billionaires are being told, tech pros are being told what the best thing to do is, they also are like, well, we built our empire, like I said before, right? And we don't have to listen to you, even though we're paying you, right? But people told us to pay you, so we're paying you, but we're not going to listen to you. That's pretty much consulting, if you want to know what political consulting is all about.
For a place like Solano County, that's like I guess it's probably a suburban county, right? Like it's probably like classified as, you just tell them, you just be like, what are you just trying to drop Silicon Valley right here?
Yeah. Oh, the message I think from us, from the anti side, would be, it's very easy. It's very easy, and it doesn't have to be that nuanced, even with the broad coalition, right? But it's a very easy message to make. So
right, those people like
it.
They want. I think some of the people just kind of live there, and that's just like their thing or whatever. But I think a lot of people maybe moved there from like the inner part of the Bay Area because they wanted access to the Bay Area, but they didn't want to live in the like inner, like dense, like urban sprawl of the Bay Area.
Well, could afford it probably.
Like generally fuck those people kind of, but messaging to them on this is, I could run the whole thing on like $500, right? If you give me $500 in Facebook ads 3 days before the election, it's a bloodbath.
One would hope, yeah. That's the only thing, is it always comes down to the money and the resources to get the message out, right? So you could have the best message, you could have the winning message, you could have, the other side could have nothing going for them other than money.
We should take a look, and we should take a look into this and see if there's like Facebook groups, like if there's AstroTurf Facebook groups in favor of it, and then if there's like community groups like Stop California Forever, because those Stop California Forever groups are probably cooked.
California for never.
They're probably cooked. Anyway, we got to move on though. I think if we ever did anything like longer form or whatever, this would be a good thing to dig into. I think.
Oh, dude, we're gonna. I mean, it's on the ballot. It'll be on the ballot, so we'll have plenty of opportunity to. We could do a whole ballot box bingo on this one.
So the city of San Jose has passed a budget, and NBC Bay Area is going to just do a news hit on it. And of course, the still is what you'd think the still would be. It's a homeless encampment with a tire. Here we go.
Sorry, I thought it was just like a tarp, connoisseur.
There's a tire there too.
Oh, the tire.
A live look at San Jose tonight. The city now looking to divert millions of dollars slated for affordable housing to go toward the homeless. City Council passed the budget last night, which the mayor is calling an, quote, all of the above approach. NBC Bears Jocelyn Moran joins us now in the studio. What does that mean? All above approach.
Yeah, Jess, it means they're not just focusing on one solution. This budget puts money into affordable housing, interim housing by adding shelter capacity, and it invests in safe parking sites.
We have a crisis, and this budget finally treats homelessness like the crisis that it is.
San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan calling the city's budget a historic investment to reduce homelessness. He'd been pushing for the city to take Measure E dollars and put them toward interim housing and creek cleanup. Now he says this budget focuses on an all-of-the-above approach, adding that $40 million will go into new affordable housing and $27 million into cleaning the city's waterways and providing interim housing.
We will add space for 1,200 additional people to come in from the streets and out of the creeks on top of what the existing system would have already offered this year.
He says they'll be cleaning up encampments and requiring people to take advantage of the shelter they provide.
We cannot have completely unmanaged, unsheltered encampments all over the city. This is not sustainable.
In East San Jose, this is some of what you see: tents, RVs, and people's belongings by the sidewalks. One resident telling us she's scared to go on walks with her dogs. Santa Clara County's most recent point in time count, which happened in 2023, showed that more than 6,300 people were homeless in San Jose.
Our shelters are full. There continues to be a need.
The organization Home First provides shelter and services to those who are unhoused. They say investments into both interim and permanent housing are needed.
Continued dollars for interim housing that provides immediate relief and stability, but we can't take our foot off the gas for affordable housing.
And Mahan says this budget does that. As for the woman we spoke to in East San Jose, she says she wants to see this actually put into action. She wants to see changes in her neighborhood. Raj.
All right.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of dig deeply into this, but as usual, it's that local news doesn't really get it 100% accurate, right? The whole argument here was around whether or not funding that was approved by voters, a tax that was approved by voters as Measure E a number of years ago here in San Jose, I want to say 2016, whether or not it's going to be spent according to a policy that the council approved at the time, as far as how the funds would be allocated, with most of it going towards affordable housing, whether that's land acquisition or construction or rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it. Now, of course, affordable housing is for people who lack the resources to have market rate housing, but it could also be for folks who were previously unhoused or homeless. So this is kind of like I forget what the phrase is, but this is a false narrative and a false dichotomy here when we're talking about splitting the money between the unhoused or homeless people and affordable housing. It's housing in general. It's housing options for people who need a roof over their heads, right, and are most vulnerable. Either they're at risk of losing their home or they're already homeless. So what's happening is, folks, all sides are trying to pit one side against the other or one narrative against the other. And really, and the mayor is right that we do need an all hands on deck and all rungs of the ladder approach to this problem. But the problem is, and where I call bullshit, is that we've needed this for many, many years. And going back to when yours truly was running to be a council man, right? When we first met, Producer Dave, that's 8 years ago. I was advocating for just that type of thing, and there were advocates advocating for just that type of thing, and we were calling for just that type of thing, a many-tiered approach. And it was like deaf ears, crickets from the council, and from even lefties and Democrats on the council. So it's hilarious to see that suddenly there's this embrace of the fact that there's a crisis, right? When it was a crisis many, many years ago. You're only just getting around to it now, right? And those of us who've been in the fight for a long time realize this. Those of them who've just been elected to office in the last 2 years maybe don't realize it because they hadn't really had to deal with it before they ran for office, right? So now they're learning that there is actually a crisis out there, and that it's going to take more than just sweeping people from one camp to another.
So I think that
to solve it.
I think the reason that it's maybe viewed as a crisis now is versus 2015 or 2016 is San Jose and the Bay Area's economy were cracking in those times, and so it was easy to just pretend that this was like a problem for very few people who maybe through poor decisions or whatever in an economically ascendant area were homeless, and now economy's not so cracking, and so it even though the numbers probably haven't changed dramatically, like per capita, it just seems like because there's been an economic downturn or maybe even just like a stagnation of the economy that now it gets more attention. When it's funny because like when the economy's cracking is kind of the time to take care of these things, right?
One would think, right? But it seems to be the last thing we're thinking about when the economy is cracking. Instead, we're thinking about how do we fill the pockets of all those, business moguls and tech bros who we feel are making the economy crack, but really it's the service economy that's driving everything. And if the service economy went away, none of this would be possible, right? So yeah, but when times are good, we're not making investments like that. We're not building up. We're not shoring up reserves. We're not, we're investing even more in our community. No, we're like just doing the same old, and taking the money and putting it into pet projects and and all these programs that, mayors will get started, council members will get started and nurture for a couple of years, right? And get city funding for, and then they leave office and the program dies, right? And they've spent all this money and there's nothing to show for it. That happens so much. And then things are, tight, right? Like this year, there was a deficit. There was a shortfall, quote unquote, a shortfall. It was deficit because things were not projecting as well, and we didn't have all the Corona money left to fund it all. So they had to, figure out ways to make difficult decisions and cuts, and a lot of it was around these specialized programs and other service areas that are really important. But unfortunately, if we had thought ahead, they might have been preserved, but now they're on the chopping block, and that's just poor leadership.
We're going to stay in San Jose for the next story. We have
let's do it.
Some Taco Bell employees striking for better working conditions. I'm curious how KPIX is going to cover this. Let's check it out.
We need more cops.
Taco Bell workers in San Jose launched a strike today to demand new protections, including when it comes to working indoors in dangerous heat. They say they've been forced to work in unbearable conditions in the kitchen. Kevin Coe has their complaints and the long-awaited state protections that could be coming.
Marcelo works at this San Jose Taco Bell and KFC, but today he's on strike.
There had to be more careful and keep the workers healthy, so that's why we're doing this.
Workers at this location on South King Road say they've had to work in temperatures close to 90 degrees because of the company's failure to repair the store's air conditioning. They were joined by other fast food employees in San Jose who've also faced high temps at work, like Cynthia.
My migraines will get worse, and then I get stomachache to the point that I want to throw up.
A Taco Bell spokesperson tells me this location's franchise owner is currently working to address team member concerns. But the concerns with excessive heat for workers goes far beyond this Taco Bell. A new proposal to California's Department of Industrial Relations would require indoor workplaces to be 87 degrees or cooler in areas like a kitchen where you're working near a hot stove. The proposed standard would require a temperature below 82 degrees.
The code is pretty detailed, and it explains what kinds of mitigations an employer is supposed to take.
Robert Ovetz is a senior lecturer at San Jose State University, who's also authored 3 books on strikes and labor relations.
We still have many workers who become injured or ill or even die while they're on the job.
The new proposal was set for a vote in March, before a last-minute cancellation by the state's Occupational Safety and Health Board. Lorena Gonzalez is the principal.
Yeah, shout out to that person in the van that saw the strikers and was like, you know what, I'm out of here.
California
which has
advocated for indoor
burrito
since 2016.
Yeah, like I ain't crossing no picket line.
There won't be another last-minute cancellation.
We had a lot of discussions with the governor's office since then, and we really do believe, and we have been ensured that we will have a heat standard by the summer. We need to make sure that those workers have the ability to still be healthy while they do their job. We don't want people to die. We don't want people to get sick.
Those striking today in San Jose are hoping the proposal is approved.
That's the best thing we could happen to us, because that way, we could work better. The thing is that the owners shouldn't have workers working under those conditions, because we're the ones who do the job at the end.
California's Occupational Safety and Health Standards Board is set to vote on the heat illness prevention proposal on June 20th.
And in 2005, California became the first state to pass a heat illness prevention standard, but it is not applied to indoor workplaces.
So what a lot of these places do that I don't think a lot of people know is like, you'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I go to the Taco Bell and it's nice and cool in the lobby. And it's like, well, yeah, because that's they have the air conditioning system has zones. They have control of the air conditioning system. And so they'll divert like most of the power of the air conditioning system to the lobby so that the customers are comfortable.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And the customers also are, dealing with a hot stove, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. Ha, 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 ha. I always felt very comfortable when I went into a Taco Bell. It is a franchisee's decision too, so we'll see. It's not necessarily Taco Bell corporate that's causing this issue. And I do want to give a shout out to Taco Bell social media. They are pretty legit. But yeah, hopefully this particular employer steps up and gets Mr. Frosty going.
I can't wait for Wendy's to go after Taco Bell and be like, do you know what we do for our employees? We give them air conditioning.
And Frosties.
Anyway, up next we got the new Oakland police chief already doing fucking coffee with a cop. They did this in Campbell, and I just was like, I don't have any desire to have any interaction with the police. I avoid them, actually.
I'm gonna guess that this is something where like he just showed up somewhere, and it wasn't like people were invited and RSVP'd, right, and said I'm gonna have coffee with a cop. More just like I'm gonna show up somewhere and have a McCafe, and then like try and talk to people.
Also, what a shitty, like, come on. I thought your local businesses were struggling, dude. Fucking find an independent coffee house, you asshole.
Wouldn't be that hard in Oakland, I guarantee it. Anyway, here's the hit from ABC News.
Police departments across the country regularly hold coffee with a cop events to foster relationships with the community.
Oakland's new police chief is bringing back this old strategy. ABC 7 News anchor Ansar Hassan met in today's special event in the Temescal district.
My pleasure. I'd like to introduce our chief.
I can't imagine, like, whose idea was it to hold it at a McDonald's? I'm flabbergasted by this.
He's a man of the people. He's trying to represent the people. He doesn't want to go to some artisanal coffee shop and have to step over someone's poop to get there, right? He wants to go to a nice, clean McDonald's, get him a cafe, show people that he's not afraid to come down to their level and talk, even though he's making whatever $400K.
Community members. Coffee with the cop in Oakland included coffee with the new chief.
I like my coffee black with 2 sweet and lows in it.
Chief Floyd Mitchell held these
That's some sort of commentary
routinely at his 2 previous chief jobs in Texas. From homeowners to business owners, he says it's a powerful way to build effective relationships.
We cannot be in every place at all the time, so we rely.
Well, we can be at the McDonald's.
So when we have incidents in our neighborhoods, we can talk. That relationship is already built.
Sean Granberry, a lifelong Oakland resident
at McDonald's,
says this was an opportunity to explain to the new chief the difference between old Oakland and new Oakland.
Old Oakland would be someone like me that's been in the neighborhood for 30 plus years. So been here, know the community. The new Oakland that just paid $1.3 million for their house.
The way Granberry describes it, the 2 Oaklands don't get along and don't communicate. That mistrust, he says, gets exploited. He says law enforcement needs to understand how to navigate through that.
I know that those doing the bad things around here are manipulating the lack of communication between neighbors, between police.
But remember, the crime didn't occur if it wasn't reported.
Officer Miran Gitchki says he understands the frustration around complaints of delayed response times. But he says this was a chance to explain why underreporting is a big problem as well.
For us to have our statistics together as well, and how we navigate our resources.
Oakland resident Manji Mandil got to meet the beat officer for her neighborhood. She says she feels reassured after their talk.
Actually having that conversation from a civilian officer perspective as to what the touch points are in my actual neighborhood was really helpful.
OPD plans several more coffee with the cop in the coming months. In Oakland, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
Yeah, but you should, I don't know. I just think the optics of having it at McDonald's are just so bad.
Black with 2 sweet and lows. Sounds like that's like an album name, right?
maybe the guy just doesn't like you could get black coffee with 2 sweet and lows at your local coffee shop, probably good as fuck too.
Tonight, Chief Mitchell, black with too sweet a nose, live on stage at the Fox.
Right, I'm thinking like the intro to like a buddy cop film. He was a black coffee with two sweet and lows guy, and she was a
double decaf latte with a caramel twist.
They're out there,
and they were forced to work together due to unexpected circumstances. But now they've found a way to come together to fight crime and do it in a funny way. With jokes. Madcap humor ensues.
Madcap and half calf is what I would call it.
Oh, madcap and half calf. Oh, that's the best. A cop story.
Okay, so this is the first one. Hopefully I'm just telling you, like a coffee house that's been there for 15 or 20 years. It's like a place where the community gathers, and it's like a good place to do this.
One would hope, maybe they're onto something. I don't know. I don't know the demographics. I don't know the numbers. Like if maybe McDonald's is the most free, maybe it has the best Yelp reviews. I don't know. But yeah, you would think they would find something more community for this guy if he's trying to establish community. But whatever. What do I know? I'm just a communications consultant.
And not for nothing, the prices at McDonald's are now such that you can get a good ass sandwich and a cup of coffee at your local cafe for now the same price as a Big Mac meal with a cup of coffee. And the sandwich at your local coffee house is probably going to be fucking superior.
One would hope that they weren't just microwaving a little petri dish of egg to put on your.
That's at Starbuckles. Don't order the food at the Starbuckles.
Yeah, to put on a rubbery English muffin that I wouldn't even call an English muffin. I would just call it some sort of, bread substitute.
So up next, we got the Theranos saga continues. Elizabeth Holmes' lawyers are returning to a court. That would be the San Jose federal court, if I'm not mistaken, to try to appeal her fraud conviction, which is probably going to be a tough one because she defrauded Henry Kissinger. Now, I mean, that's okay. I like that part, but you defraud a bunch of rich people, your appeal's not.
More than likely.
Anyway, let's see what NBC Bay Area has to say about it.
Let's do it.
One of the most infamous cases in the Silicon Valley was back in court today. Lawyers for former Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes are trying to get her out of jail. Today, they had 15 minutes to plead their case.
15 minutes is not a lot of time. Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman was there. Scott, we both covered this trial. And
actually, if you've ever tried to talk uninterrupted for 15 minutes, you can say a lot of shit.
A very different feel.
Yeah, it really did. A different feel, a different courtroom, Chris, different rules. Lawyers for Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani, who are both currently in prison for crimes they committed while running Palo Alto biotech startup Theranos, pled their case to a group of federal judges today in San Francisco. Now, both Holmes and Balwani will have to wait to see if the arguments convince the judges to set them free.
The appeals court.
It was called Silicon Valley's trial of the century, but the appeals process in the Theranos fraud case moved to San Francisco. The hearing coming nearly 2.5
the Ninth
years
Circuit,
after
right?
a jury convicted both for orchestrating a blood test scam that shook Silicon Valley. Today, attorneys representing Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani pled their case in court. Balwani's attorneys speaking to us afterward.
Mr. Balwani didn't get a fair trial.
His legal team arguing their client was unfairly targeted and should get a new trial.
The government didn't want the jury to hear the actual words of what Ms. Holmes said to investors, and the testimony that came in was false. I think Mr. Balwani deserves a new trial, and I hope the court sees it that way.
Neither Holmes nor Balwani was in court, but Billy Evans, Holmes' partner, did show up along with her parents. Legal analysts say it's not likely either Holmes or Balwani will have their case overturned, but that doesn't seem to dim interest in the case.
So many people have so many opinions about this case. So absolutely, it shouldn't in some ways, but the reality is we're human and high publicity cases absolutely are different.
This certainly was one of those. Analysts tell us it'll take a while, usually, before the judges in an appeals case decide whether or not to give those guys another trial. No specific date to issue the ruling. Holmes currently in prison until August of 2032. Balwani until 2034.
So how did it go for Holmes today? Does she have any reason to be optimistic?
It's interesting because the judges started out by saying, hey, this happened. The evidence was overwhelming. And so it didn't seem like it started. And even in 15 minutes, like you'd say, say, that all isn't all that long. They were on the clock. But the judge did say that, this actually could be an interesting case. She said there is something to the fact that Holmes may have a say in this and a chance to have another trial. Again, breadcrumbs at this point. Most lawyers tell me it is rare to see one of these things reversed. So now we just have to wait to see if even the little bit of hope that they got from the judge today pans out.
And you two will be back in court if there is another trial. I know that.
Yeah, I imagine we will, yeah.
Early mornings, late afternoons, for sure. Thank you, Scott.
You bet.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that's gonna happen. We'll see though. I mean, I don't know what they were talking about as far as was it Balwani? I'm not sure what they were talking about as far as some of her statements not being allowed to be introduced during his trial, but that's all kinds of stuff isn't allowed to be introduced at a trial.
Yeah, more than likely are just re-arguing procedural decisions by the previous judge and hoping that the appellate court judge, sees things differently. Because people are human and they do see things differently. So there's a chance. But yeah, I don't see that it's very likely. I think that the judges and the courts are very excited about making an example out of this young lady. Unfortunately, Mr. Balwani might be caught up in it, but he was a part of it. He can't deny he was a part of it. And so I don't know that they're going to get what they want out of this. But it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I'm here for it if they do it again. Fuck it.
Let's go for it again. I mean, that's exactly what Downballot is here for, in fact. So
it'd be great if they lost twice.
Right? And man, it would just be great fodder. The docket just writes itself. When things like that are happening, it's really difficult. Like when things like bike lanes in San Francisco are, being open to public debate, that's just inviting Downballot to come and swoop in and drop it on the docket, right?
This is our Get Your Shit Together segment. We've been talking about this bike lane, and it seems like a dumbass bike lane. But I guess they held a public hearing on this, which I don't know. I guess we I don't know. We'll see what's going on for public comment. Maybe we'll find the bike lane public hearing. Who knows?
We need to dip into that shit.
Well, it is back to the drawing board on plans for a bike lane in one of San Francisco's busiest neighborhoods. A widely criticized lane that now runs right down the middle of Valencia Street might be moved less than a year after it was installed. Ann Makovic heard from bicyclists and business owners today about this about-face. This was a big deal when this happened.
It certainly was. It was a bold plan, and it was original. Bicyclists driving down the middle of the street between the lanes of traffic. The middle bike lane was installed last August, and the purpose was to make cyclists feel safer and create an efficient artery up and down the Mission. But this has faced criticism ever since, that it doesn't provide clear directions for bikers or drivers, creating confusion and danger. It's on Valencia Street between 15th and 23rd Streets in San Francisco's Mission District. The new plan could move the bike lane to the side of the street. Some local business owners we spoke with today are just fed up with the whole issue.
It's horrible. I mean, it's not an attractive part of the city anymore. Nobody wants to come here.
Wait, what?
They don't ask us or discuss it with us. They just make a decision for themselves, and then they ask people.
In fact, some business owners are filing a lawsuit with the city, upset about the loss of parking and other changes in the neighborhood. And we spoke with one cyclist today who sympathizes with those concerns, but has been enjoying the ride.
Just purely from a biking standpoint, it's way better than any of the other bike lanes. From the perspective of it's just safer for bikes.
Yeah, he says with the bike lane in the middle, you're not going to be hit by a car door nor risk running into pedestrians wandering into the bike lane. But he also says that it's sometimes difficult to make turns onto other streets. So all of this is going to go into the debate next week about moving the lane to the side of the street. The SFMTA is holding a public hearing on the issue 1 week from today. That is June 18th.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember a sort of bike lane issue that has been as controversial as this one.
Yes, it absolutely has. So, I mean, at least there have been a lot of lessons learned for other cities.
Where have you been, Sarah Donji?
Yeah,
where have you been?
Next here?
Or maybe other parts of our city. All right, Ann, thank you so much.
We definitely have covered a lot of bike lane issues.
Yeah, she was busy getting, I don't know, something done. Anyway, yeah, we've even covered this particular bike lane before. So I guess it is getting more coverage than most, but yeah.
So the problem that it seems like there just ain't fucking room for everybody on that street. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, they might have chose the wrong bike artery.
No. The problem is, like, they're not going to solve this problem, because if they put it back the other way, then there's just going to be like bike lanes on the outside, and there's just going to be not enough room for everybody again. Like,
yeah. The wrong street as an artery for bikes. Yeah, absolutely. It's just not wide enough in the first place. But at least we got one bicyclist's perspective, who likes the center lanes. I remember we were debating that ourselves, right? Is this safe for bicyclists? It doesn't seem like it's much
he
safer.
said he had the same concern that I did. Turning is probably terrifying.
Right? Yeah. Right. So that's definitely scary. But I imagine turning is probably terrifying in general from bike lanes. Frankly, I don't see how biking in a city like San Francisco would be all that, calm inducing in the first place. Probably a pretty terrifying experience to begin with. So one probably wouldn't bike unless one was so inclined.
I could bike safely around San Francisco, but
You're a bicyclist, though.
Yeah, and I would also, like, unlike when I'm over here, I would not have headphones in. That'd be the first thing I'd do. I'd be like, no podcast for me. Time to pay attention. Let's not die today.
Yeah, I did enjoy I think one of the very first B-roll shots, they had a dude bro rolling by on his bike, like looking at his cell phone with no helmet.
Yeah. Well, the helmet, I would probably go without a helmet, but that's just because I'm stupid. But
right,
I wouldn't
the combo.
But I would leave my probably leave my phone in my pocket. I don't check my phone. Like, if I have to check, I'm riding a bike, I can just stop. Right?
It's like I've never understood. I certainly do it. I'm guilty of it myself on bike and in car. But if I were to get in an accident or to God forbid perish because I was checking my phone, I definitely deserve it. I'll put it out there right now. If anyone's like lamenting, oh, he died so young, it's like, no, I was checking my fucking phone. I deserve to die. Anyway,
so time to move on to Down Ballot Watch. Just a quick note, during public comment, we are going to watch the first mayoral debate for San Francisco, primarily because I couldn't find the entire recording of the second one, but maybe that'll be easier to find by next week. Here, let's get some clips from the first one, and make sure everybody stick around for the post game, because we're going to watch the whole fucking thing.
It's like a preview.
At 11 o'clock, who will be the next mayor of San Francisco? Tonight, the top candidates take the debate stage in front of a sold-out crowd in the city. This was the first mayoral debate. A lot of issues here and a lot of problems. Public safety, fentanyl, reviving downtown, and homelessness.
Now, the top 5 candidates faced off tonight, but this is just the first of many debates as we head toward the November election. NBC Mayor's Pete Theranos was there.
Current San Francisco Mayor London Breed, former interim mayor Mark Farrell, Levi Strauss heir Daniel Lurie, and supervisors Aaron Peskin and Asha Safai.
Aaron Peskin is just running for mayor because he heard there would be cameras.
Taking the stage tonight
and donuts.
Sold-out crowd at the Sidney Goldstein Theater to make their case for becoming the next mayor of San Francisco.
These guys have one thing in common. They want us to feel bad about San Francisco. They want to take us backwards.
We are in a tough spot right now, and we need a change of leadership in City Hall.
I've proven how accountable leadership can get big things done for our city.
I have a unifying vision and track record of bringing people together across political divides. I've demonstrated again and again the absolute independence to stand up to wealthy special interests.
Each candidate explaining how they would reinvigorate downtown.
Just last month, end of April, I put forward legislation that would allow us to create a downtown public education district.
We need certainty in our zoning so that businesses know what they're getting into, both small and large.
I just passed legislation to make it more economical and easier to convert vacant offices to housing.
And address homelessness in the city.
I believe that we can actually help the individuals living in tents, because nobody's getting better living in tents at night, between the street conditions, the health issues, and the crime.
We need more safe, dignified shelter. We need to double down on Homeward Bound. We need more mental health and drug treatment beds.
They also talked about the city's handling of the current fentanyl crisis.
This current administration's harm reduction approach to fentanyl is a failure. We are treating it like the meth and heroin issues of a decade plus ago.
We have made over 3,000 arrests, 858 or people have outstanding warrants.
Then attention turned to public safety, a top concern for many in the audience tonight.
We need a fully staffed police department. We need a fully staffed sheriff's department. 911 dispatch office also needs to be fully staffed.
I believe we need a new police chief. I believe we need to restore the budget of our police department inside of City Hall.
We are now one of the highest paid departments with retention bonuses. We are seeing more applications than we saw before the pandemic.
As mayor, I will expand the community policing we have in District 3 to the rest of San Francisco. I can get that done.
The debate ending on a much lighter note, with moderators asking the candidates if they had to vote for another person on tonight's stage, who would it be?
I probably would say either Mark Farrell or Aaron Peskin.
Hands down, this man next to me, Asha Safa.
I'm focused on me.
These guys
Answer
up
the
here
question.
have not been very nice to me. So I probably look at some of the other candidates in the book for some other people who might be running for mayor too.
Politics is the business of collaborating and compromising, and I've done a lot of that with Supervisor Safai and some of that with Mayor Breed.
And with tonight's debate in the books, voters won't have to wait too long for the next one. That's scheduled for June 17th at UC Law. In San Francisco, Pete Serratos, NBC Bay Area News.
Now, I want to remind you this November.
So none of them answered the last question. Like, it's a fun question, and nobody's going to like hold it against you. Like, that's a good way. Like, why wouldn't you just say, oh, the incumbent mayor, or, oh, you know, the
Mark Farrell answered. He said Asha Safai. He said,
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Like, yeah, he was. You're right. No, he was the only one who was equivocal. And Daniel Lurie is just a fucking penis in a suit. Like, oh my god, what a tool. I am focused on me now. I have run a company with 50 employees. That I heard him on NPR the other day. Sorry. Anyway.
Also, like, the only other answer is, I think everybody here is pretty qualified.
Yeah. Right. I think Peskin was probably trying to be as pragmatic as possible and magnanimous. You know, like, well, I've collaborated with my fellow supervisor, and I've collaborated with the mayor, and I don't know about these two other guys.
But like, everybody's gonna forget who you picked. Like, as soon as that question is over, no one's gonna even remember who any of these motherfuckers chose. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, just answer the question.
Well, but everyone is going to use every opportunity, every question to try to stand out, right? To try to make an impact, to try to make a splash. And London's going to use every single chance she gets to point out the fact that she's a black woman running against 4 white dudes, right? So I would, or at least 4 white presenting dudes, right? Yeah, as I would too, as her consultants, her many consultants are probably telling her to as well, right? And I know her consultants, so I'm sure they're telling her that. Anyway. So she's doing everything she can in every question. Everyone else is going to do everything they can on every single question to stand out, because you only get a certain number of moments, right, in these debates anyway, especially with 5 candidates up there. And this isn't everyone running, right? There's all sorts of, like London said, all sorts of other rans. So anyway, but you'll see more on this debate later during public comment. Great plug. I'm really excited for that. That's going to be fun for you.
Yep, and apparently they debated again this time
yesterday. Yeah,
it was just yesterday, and apparently this one's a little spicier. Let's see what the news has to say about it, and let's see what kind of spice the news has chosen.
Yeah, the audio from clips, just FYI, heads up, are not the best from the debate itself. Just
gotcha.
FYI.
That might be why it's not published anywhere.
Correct. I'm sure it might be out there getting ready to be published, but these are like cell phone back of the room, videos.
Okay, who's it going to be tonight? A second debate for the top 5 candidates trying to be the next mayor of San Francisco. Public safety, housing, and revitalizing downtown. Just 3 of the topics that the candidates did not agree on. NBC's Terry McSweeney has the details.
They are running against San Francisco.
A full house at UC Law School for tonight's mayoral debate. And right off the bat, former supervisor and former interim mayor Mark Farrell came out swinging on the topic of public safety.
We grew our police department to over 2,300 officers when I was budget chair and when I became mayor. We're down 600 officers since. I will restore the staffing levels inside of our San Francisco Police Department.
When Mark Farrell was temporary mayor of San Francisco, property crime was up, car break-ins were up, and violent crime was up. This year and even last year, crime has been lower than it's been in 10 years.
Philanthropist Daniel Lurie, the only non-politician at tonight's event, spelled out part of his plan to deal with drug overdoses, more than 3,000 fatalities since 2020.
I have a plan backed by behavioral health experts and law enforcement that goes hard at drug dealers, first-time drug dealers, putting an ankle monitor around them and having a stay-away order for those people. We need to get tough.
Yeah.
Tonight, what to do about affordable
That sounds
housing?
awesome.
Have you ever opposed it? Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin answered this way.
I have never voted against any affordable housing, and why I've supported over $1 billion in general obligation bonds. It is why I've supported inclusionary housing.
Everything that I have been about on the Board of Supervisors has been looking at things through the lens of working people. And a lot of times, teachers, nurses, janitors, they make a little bit too much to afford our pure definition of affordable housing.
In San Francisco, Terry McSweeney, NBC Bay Area News.
That didn't seem spicy.
It was like maybe it was a little, maybe I'm reading more into it than more spice into it than there was. It was a little spicier than the first one, but the temporary mayor line is really fun. I think that Farrell came out really he's been on the attack from the beginning, so that seemed pretty spicy. And I'm just intrigued by Daniel Lurie. I want to see more from this guy. He's the heir of the Levi Strauss fortune. He ran his own nonprofit. So he thinks he knows. Again, this is another guy who thinks he knows what he's doing and thinks he knows best. So we shall see. Yeah, sorry, I'm probably reading a little as a political
that's okay.
junkie.
That's all right.
It's more like one of those jabs where like when Mark Farrell was temporary mayor, right? It's one of those jabs where it's like it may not get the room even going, but it's certainly one of those things that Mark Farrell heard it, right?
Yeah,
he's thinking about it.
I think also because we watch all these Board of Supervisors meetings, not just Shasta, but all the other ones, that things get real fucking spicy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Then this is guaranteed to get spicier as we get closer to election day.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as a couple more people drop out and folks get more time. Like as it whittles down to like 2 or 3, it's gonna be way more talking about each other's records and each other's character and stuff, I think.
Oh, I think you could see this come to, all these folks still in the race at the end, because at the end of the day, remember, it's ranked choice voting, right? So it may not get much spicier because, they were more inclined probably to be everyone's second choice, right? If they're not someone's first choice. So they don't want to necessarily make enemies with any of the other candidates, although I don't think Mark Farrell has any problem with that, at least with London Breed. So maybe that's the only area where there may not be alliances or sort of détentes. But yeah, I could see this not getting too heated in certain ways because it's ranked choice voting and because that dynamic still hasn't, we really haven't done the studies to show what the best methods for campaigning within that system are, I think.
All right, well, we got one more before we go to And Another Thing. And one of the big stories we covered, I think, for the last election cycle was the recount, the vote for the open house seat. That was CA16, is that right?
Correct. And Ash's seat, who is stepping down.
There was a recount called for, not by either of the candidates who tied, and that seemed a little funny. And what the fellow who won is talking about a bill that's been introduced to maybe reform the recount process. So let's see what the former mayor of Campbell, and possibly I don't know, before I was mayor of Campbell Avenue, he might have been mayor of Campbell Avenue, Evan Lowe, has to say.
Hey.
After advancing in a razor-thin primary election, a local candidate vying for the U.S. House now wants to see the rules of the recount change.
ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Lauren Martinez explains how Evan Lowe is hoping to rework things in the future.
Assemblymember Evan Lowe is introducing a new bill that he says aims to take the politics out of recounts. The bill would call for automatic recounts in close statewide elections.
And of course, this comes directly as a result of the experience that I was in.
Lowe tied for second place with Supervisor Joe Simidian in the March primary election for the District 16 congressional seat. A request for a recount came soon after. Current law says it has to come from a voter and paid for privately. Lowe narrowly beat Simidian by 5 votes.
And then when I found out as a candidate in the race that someone else requested the recount in my name without my approval, and being funded by an out-of-state billionaire, I think leaves one to wonder that this doesn't pass the smell test.
Here in Santa Clara County, very close races on the local level are already recounted. Assemblymember Lowe said his bill would trigger a recount for any statewide race where candidates had less than 25 votes or 0.25% of the cast ballots separating them.
So this proposal, number one, requires that of an automatic recount paid for by the county. And number two, requires real-time disclosures of any type of funding over $10,000 of a recount effort.
Political scientist Melissa Michelson said this bill can take the scandal or mystery out of who is actually paying for a recount.
So this is a way to separate the democracy of it, the actual count, from the politics of it in terms of who decides to have a recount, who pays for a recount.
To Michelson, having the law in place would mean voter preferences are accurately reflected.
If you have a very close race, errors can be made and votes can be miscounted. It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once.
Simidian had no comment to share at this time. Lowe will face former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo in November. In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
Oh, I don't know. I guess automatic if it's that close, sure. But yeah. The other thing I would have liked is, and it's, just my personal preference, is that only someone who's affected by the recount, or you have to have run to that would have been a better, or at least that would have been the regulation I would have liked to have seen, that your campaign has to call for it. Even if you won by a landslide and you're calling for it, like Liccardo would have had to do it in this case, right? Because then it shows everybody what an asshole he is.
Right. So this sets up an automatic system, and but there are some parameters around the paid recounts, and I'm not sure the specifics of them. But yeah, no, you would expect it would have to be requested by either an agent of or the candidate themselves or someone affected by the results. But the argument is that if you are a voter, right, you are affected by who's affected by the office, you are affected by the results. Right. So the thing that's screwed up in this situation we dealt with recently was that the person who requested the recount didn't even live in the congressional district. Right. But you don't have to live in the congressional district to represent the congressional district. Sam Liccardo doesn't live in the congressional district and he's running. So, the rules are just shady to begin with, and the parameters are the rules of engagement are shady enough to begin with. So at least this would, set up more of a standard. Which exists at the local level. It would now exist in these races too, where you just have an automatic recount with a certain margin. And more often than not, it's not going to change the result. 25 votes is not a whole. It's a pretty wide margin. Right. It's only going to be in situations like this where there was a fucking tie. It was almost inevitable that the tie was going to be broken. Right. So or some votes would be kind of one way, some the other way. But
and I like how I like how the guy who lost is like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Joe. He's going to Europe. Apparently, he's heading out, going on vacay for a little while the supervisors are on vacation in July, and I think he left early. So he's just like, peace. I'm going to Greece. Yeah. So I just don't get lost in Greece. Apparently,
I don't know anything about him. But he seemed like the whole way through this seemed kind of like a class act. Seemed all right to me.
He is a class act, and he is very much so. That's the best way to describe him. So we wish him the best.
All right, now we got and another thing, and it's either animals or a vehicle versus structure, but this appears to be vehicle versus two structures. So I think we could already say that the vehicle won the first one.
I guess so, right? Because it got to the second one.
Live to fight again. But let's see what's happening here. This is actually pretty weird. This is like you went for you went like on a beer run and then like a weed run, but both of them were with intent to not pay for any of it, I suppose.
Right. Gotta have both, man. Sometimes it's such a rough night.
We get right to that developing news here at 11. A car rams through an East Bay liquor store, leaving a huge mess behind. And we're learning that the suspects could have made multiple stops in those early morning hours. Thanks so much for joining us here for Midday Live on this Thursday. I'm Julian Glover.
And I'm Kristen Z. It all started around 4 a.m. at Gourmet Cellar off Washington Avenue in San Leandro. Police say the suspects then continued on to a second location.
ABC 7's Lena Howland has the latest developments.
This is the moment a car backed into San Leandro's Gourmet Cellar liquor store. 3 people were then caught on camera rummaging through the store. Police say the burglary happened around 3:45 Thursday morning.
Well, I'm feeling devastated to have a damage like that. The business is going to be closed for I don't know how long.
But less than a minute later, it happened again. Surveillance video from inside shows suspects repeatedly slamming into the store, getting further inside each time. Tony Singh has owned the store since 2016.
They're going back and forth for a few times for ATM, but they're not able to get it. And so between that few minutes, they try to think they're not going to do it, so they ran out.
But it didn't end there. Later Thursday morning, San Leandro police say the same car used in this incident was found less than 5 miles away in Oakland. The car rammed through the gate of a marijuana dispensary called 420 Market. Though the suspects never got into their building, the dispensary owner said between $50,000 to $60,000 worth of damage was done to their fence and gate.
It's getting harder and harder to do a business in America.
As for Singh, he says while his building is insured, the merchandise and other equipment inside are not. No word yet from police on any possible suspect information. In San Leandro, Lena Howland, ABC 7 News.
That could play like a Lexus ad.
Stay thirsty, my friends. Okay, well, it looks as though I'd say vehicle 1.
Yeah, definitely. At least in the first. I don't know. The second one, it seems like the fence took the vehicle out, but
well, they got caught, but the vehicle didn't look all that damaged. So they did get caught. So I guess that is a negative on on that side of things. That's a con on that one. So vehicle 1, structure 1. We'll call it a draw.
Yep. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and close this show out. Do you mind reading the show out?
I do not at all, Producer Dave. Thank you so much as always for manning the dials or womaning the dials or staffing the dials, however we look at it these days. Really appreciate that as always. And listener, thank you so much for tuning in and downloading. Viewer, thank you for watching live. We really encourage you to keep doing that. We do this every Tuesday at 7:30 Pacific, except when we don't. It's the Downballot podcast, followed by public comment. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be getting into the San Francisco mayoral debate, the full video. So stay keep your eyes on that. And remember that we really encourage you to get vaccinated, to get masked. You don't have to wear pants if you don't want to. And we're going to leave you with a little audible smoke and see you in a couple weeks. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.
We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just sit back and enjoy the band. So sit back, just sit back and enjoy the band. We just do what we want.